Join us on a journey where we transform a mundane kitchen mudroom family room into a space that seamlessly blends style and functionality that also happens to be an award-winning project. This was a really special project for us. It's a family of 5, and we just happened to get on like gangbusters with these clients. They have 3 beautiful children, and they have a space that they love. They love their house, they love the neighborhood, really so many things about this space that they loved, but the kitchen, the family room were not functional. They were outdated. They had a number of choking points within the kitchen, and by choking points, I mean, when you open up the refrigerator and no one can get past you because there's a cabinet there or a dishwasher that you can't get past. That's what I mean when I say a choking point in any space. So they had a kitchen that had very low ceilings, didn't have enough space, was outdated, had the choking points within the space. They also didn't have a mudroom that met any kind of their needs. So we incorporated really interesting storage features in this mudroom. They have open cubbies for quick, casual spaces to hang up the coats, put the boots, put the bag down, and every family member has their own cubby with hooks and storage above and storage below. And then they also have some closed storage, which is really nice to put all of the coats and the seasonal things that you don't necessarily need all of the time. In addition to when you have guests come over and you want to hang up their coat on a coat hanger. So within these cabinets, we have illuminated curtain rods, which really takes the space up a few notches, because to have an illuminated closet rod just brings light into a space and a level of luxury that's really unexpected but so welcoming and compelling. And in this space, since it's an entryway, we wanted to make sure that the flooring that we used in this space was going to be really attractive, really compelling, and go along with the design aesthetic of the space, but also be really functional for all of the foot traffic, the moisture, the dirt, because it goes out to the exterior of the house, it goes into the garage, as well as the kitchen and the family room. So we had a number of points of egress into the space, so lots of foot traffic in the space. So I opted to do a wood plank floor tile. So it gave us some interesting texture and some striated colors that are sort of organic but really compelling, and they're fantastic to give you some traction because the wood plank floor tiles do have a little bit of texture to them, which is terrific for your foot to grab onto, especially if the space gets a little bit wet from the rain or the snow. And it also imparts sort of an organic texture to the space, a really natural overall texture and color story. And since this space is connected to the kitchen and the family room, I wanted to make sure that this space had its own identity, but also complemented and acknowledged the kitchen, which is an award-winning project. But I also wanted this space to have its own identity since it has its own function and its own beauty. And in this space, we have elevated ceilings. So I had the opportunity to do a larger light fixture because I had this space above. So I opted for a brushed bronze lantern style light fixture, which is really cool because it's an updated New England classic look, but it brings in a more modern and up-to-date aesthetic in the space. And since we're in New England, I really do like to incorporate a New England essence into my projects where it makes sense. So we have this large 18-inch lantern as the light fixture. It has no glass, so it's very easy. There's no maintenance, there's no cleaning. And then we also did a very cool barn door that separates the family room from the mudroom, because sometimes when you have people coming to the door, you don't really want to give everybody access into the rest of your space. Sometimes you really want to keep it private, especially if you have laundry or, the family room happens to be a mess. So we did this very cool barn door and did it with a herringbone pattern that really takes a rustic look, but also elevates it and incorporates some contemporary essence to it with the herringbone pattern in it. And to echo that pattern that's in the barn door, we did an accent area within the floor with those wood plank floor tiles that's also a herringbone pattern. So it's echoing it and complementing it in a really interesting and dynamic way, but in ways that don't necessarily jump out at you. It's a monochromatic space. The cabinetry is done in a Benjamin Moore custom color, London Fog. So it's a taupey tonality, but it has some gray to it. So it's a very interesting and lovely, lovely color, but it also is very family friendly. It will hide any kind of mud or fingerprints or dirt, you know, the things that happen in a mudroom, because that's a real functioning space, but we also wanted it to be beautiful. So that's why we opted to do the London Fog cabinetry. So this space is in connection with the kitchen. So the kitchen is a large, expansive space, and it has a big doorway, so you can really see the mudroom from the kitchen and the kitchen from the mudroom. So I needed to make sure that the color story was going to complement each other. So we wanted to give these clients an expansive island because they're a family of 5, so they're very busy, and islands are just a great space to have a casual meal, to do homework, to pay bills, to write a note, but it's really nice for whomever is cooking or cleaning in the kitchen to be able to engage with whomever is sitting at the other side of the island. It really gives you that face-to-face connection, which I think is really important in a kitchen, because really kitchens are really where like life happens. That's where real life unfolds, the good, the bad, the happy, the tears. You know, it's really where a space where a family or a person's story kind of unfolds. So it's a very important space. And having this expansive island is great because there is space for 5 different stools so that every family member has a stool, and it faces the cooking and prepping area so that, again, whomever is in the workspace, the cleaning, the cooking area, can face whomever is sitting at the island. And so in this space, I wanted to have some dynamic textures, but also keeping it very monochromatic because my client really loved that aesthetic. So what we did was we have some full pantry cabinets with pull-out drawers, and on those cabinet doors, I opted for a flat panel foil finish cabinet. So it gives us the feeling of a wood grain, but it's actually a foil front, flat front door. So it's contemporary, it's modern. We get that striated effect that a wood grain would have, and it has varying tones of brown and taupe and sand, which are really dynamic and opulent, very, very interesting, and then highlighted with oversized gold hardware on the doors and the drawers. I opted to keep all of the hardware as pulls as opposed to having knobs and pulls. I really like the overall aesthetic of that. It also happens to be an ADA compliancy, which I'm a big fan of incorporating into a space when aesthetically it makes sense, but functionally it also does. So to incorporate the overall look in the mudroom, in addition to those foil flat front doors and drawers, we opted to keep that same custom color, the London Fog by Ben Moore, on the interior cabinets to continue on that sophisticated monochromatic look that also happens to be very family friendly. So with the backsplash, the chevron with the white and taupe marble tones, these are clients that cook every single day, so they wanted to incorporate a pot filler over their cooktop, which is just a fantastic little attribute to add into a space that really just saves you one step from having to fill your pot of water over at the sink, carry the pot over to the stove. So having that pot filler is a really kind of luxurious little attribute to this space. To balance out some of the contemporary elements in this space. We went with a farmhouse sink. So it has that apron front, it's white, it's porcelain, it's really clean, large, oversized, single basin sink. And then we have a gold-toned single hole faucet that has a pull-down spray function. I really like to have a single hole faucet. I love the cleanliness of it. I think it's just really clean. And I also like to go with a single handle lever. I really love that because anyone who cooks in a kitchen, who is cutting up meat or rolling out some dough, things like that, you know your hands are full of stuff. So what I like about this single lever faucets is that you can operate them with the back of your hand, and that is just really easy, and I love that. It's beautiful, it's clean, but also really functional. So this family, the parents, happen to be huge coffee lovers. They love, love, love it. They love their espresso, they love their cappuccino. And we had one area of this kitchen that was kind of a little bit wonky and definitely challenging. It was on an area that has a lot of foot traffic because there's a bathroom in this, off of this kitchen. So we had kind of a wonky little space that we really weren't sure how to incorporate it, make it functional, have it have its own purpose. And what we came up with was having this little barista station where they have their Keurig over there, they have their espresso machine, they have a spot that's designated just for their coffee because they drink coffee all day long. And so the drawers have their designated space for all of the pods for the various coffee drinks that they have. And it's a really special little area because it's designated just for coffee. It's not used for anything else. So that just makes it feel like a very special little addendum to the overall beautiful kitchen. And in this space, since the ceilings are really low, I had to work very hard to make sure that I found the right light fixtures for over the island that didn't make the space feel compacted. I didn't want to make the space feel like the ceilings were lower. So what we went with were these beautiful globe light fixtures that have that warm brushed brass finish, almost kind of an industrial essence to it, but also a very modern look in the right proportions to the island and the ceiling height. And that takes a lot of attention to detail. And I love where we landed with these lights because it really took a lot of digging into the details to make sure I found that right proportion, size, balance, aesthetic, and function of these lights, because lighting over an island is really important. They obviously had recessed lighting, and I love to have varying levels of light in any space, particularly in a kitchen. It's really important. So these clients have these globe lights that are over the island. I love the overall aesthetic that they add to the space, in addition to the recessed lighting and the under cabinet lighting. And all of the lights in the space, including the light over the table, are all done on dimmers. And that's a really lovely attribute to our projects because, you know, in New England, there are varying temperatures, varying levels of sunlight. We deal with a fair amount of gray and dark days in addition to long nights. So having that custom ability to the lights is really important. I love under cabinet lighting. It's functional, but it's also ambient lighting. So at the end of a day, you can turn off all the other lights and leave those under cabinet lights on and then adjust them with the dimmers. Really nice because sometimes you want bright light and sometimes you want just a really soft light. So having that custom ability is really just one of those little things that make a space feel extra fantastic. And over the table, the ceiling is a little bit higher there, so I had a little more play in that area, and I opted for this magnificent light fixture. It's a Sputnik style, so it almost looks like a starburst with lots of different golden arms coming out from it. So it's really dynamic and compelling, but also proportionate to the table and the space, which I just love that composition and how this Sputnik light fixture complements the globe lights over the island. So they don't match, but they acknowledge each other, and each space has its own function. But I like to think of things as not, twins, identical twins. I don't really love matchy-matchy for light fixtures, but I love lights that complement and acknowledge each other's beauty and aesthetic, but they're magnificent in their own right, and they kind of feel like beautiful first cousins of an overall gorgeous family. And so that's the light story in the space, and just the overall look of the space, and being an award-winning project really just, it makes us feel so excited, so happy, and our clients were overjoyed that the space won an award as well. And so the adjoining space, the family room, it's an open concept space. So the kitchen flows right into the family room. You can watch TV from the kitchen where the TV is in the family room. So I needed to carry on the color story and some of the textures into the family room, but make sure that the family room had its own identity. Again, feeling like a first cousin of the same beautiful family. So in this beverage area, I love beverage areas because that's kind of where the cocktails happen, the libations happen, you know, maybe you're having a party or at the end of a long day. So in this space, we incorporated the same cabinetry that's in the kitchen, the foil front, brown and taupe foil doors that have that striated color and texture. And in this space, we incorporated a bar sink, an undermount round sink, in addition to the bar version faucet that echoes the same faucet that's in the kitchen. So we're continuing that story in a different kind of way in this space. And then to keep it kind of sexy and interesting, I went with an antiqued mirror backsplash. Antiqued mirror is just really dynamic. It gives you that reflection, but it also has some texture to it, some age, and I love that juxtaposition of overall looks. Plus I love the reflection because it reflects the light of the under cabinet lighting and just makes it kind of feel a little fabulous over there. So those are done in a smaller subway tile shape, and it also has a little bit of beveling to it. So another little detail there that just kicks it up a notch. We added a beverage fridge in this area to again make it easy to grab the tonics, to grab the sodas, to put the vodka in, and just really makes this space feel entirely separate from the kitchen and functional independent of the kitchen. So it's a really nice space, again, when you're entertaining, if you're hosting a party or the holidays, that's where guests can help themselves, or you could be over there being the mixologist, pouring all the drinks for them, which is separate and away from the kitchen where perhaps the food is being prepared or served, or dishes, or you know, the things that happen in a kitchen. And this space we added in the seating area of the family room, this really big, beautiful light fixture that has a classic candelabra style, but each of the arms has this really, really cool shade on it, which is a drum shade, but done in a more linear fashion. It just brings it up to a more contemporary look, but softens the bulbs of the light fixture. And again, this is done with a dimmer so that in this space you can adjust the amount of light that you have given the event or the time of the year. But I love the way this light fixture, it being such a big size and having again the ceiling height to do it, I just love the kind of glamorous, modern, but approachable look that it adds to this family room. So I love the way this turned out. Our clients love the way it turned out. Obviously our peers love it because we got an award for it. Check out my YouTube channel, and please share your comments, share your questions, share pictures. If there's anything about this project or what we did in it that inspires you, I'd love to hear about it.